On this episode, I'm gonna chat with my man, Branden Harvey. He's a content creator, has amazing hair, and we're gonna talk about good news. Hey, what's going on everyone? Carlos here. Welcome to another episode of Real Talk. We are at Social Media Marketing World. Sitting next to me is the homie, Branden Harvey.
Hey buddy.
Welcome to Real Talk.
Thank you, man. I'm happy to be here.
It's great to see you. Before we get into it, how's your first Social Media Marketing World going for you?
It's been great. It's really fun. I love all the people that I've gotten to meet so far. I love seeing you, as always.
Likewise.
And it's fun talking about these things that I'm passionate about. How to use storytelling to move the needle on the things that matter to us.
Now, Branden is an amazing content creator, storyteller. You've done some really cool campaigns. In fact, the one that still sticks out to me is when the Pope visited the US.
Yeah.
You were covering that through Snapchat.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your journey though. So you're a photographer.
Yeah, so my background was photography. I started shooting photos professionally when I was 16 years old, which is, nobody should ever trust a 16-year-old like me to shoot photos, but that's when I started getting paid to shoot photos. And that slowly transitioned into me being able to do all kinds of amazing photo work around the world.
Okay, so let's talk about that. You are widely known on Instagram. There's a lot of folks out there that watch this content on Real Talk that are looking to leverage Instagram. So what would you say are maybe the 2 or 3 biggest tips or keys that folks out there that are looking to just crush it on Instagram need to know?
Man, the first thing is use Instagram to tell stories. Don't be afraid to use some long form captions. Don't be afraid to dive into details and nuances, because stories on a neurological level have the power to infiltrate people's minds. Not in a crazy way, not in a weird way, but what we do when we hear a compelling story is we automatically associate it with the stories of our own lives. So when you share a story about your product or your service or your own life, people are going to connect with it and they're going to associate it with their life. And so that's the core thing. Number 2, just engage with people. Respond to comments, have conversations, invite people in, be generous. I think that's great. And then the third thing, this is maybe a little bit controversial, but skip the hashtags. It's not worth your time. Think about it. People always do like hashtag Instagood, hashtag Instagram, hashtag summer, hashtag, all these big things with millions of things. When was the last time that you went into one of those hashtags and clicked through, looked through people's photos, found somebody you liked, hit the follow button? Never. You've never done that. I've never done that. And so if you're going to use hashtags, use things that you would actually go through and check out yourself. We're here at Social Media Marketing Week.
Interesting.
If you go through the Social Media Marketing Week hashtag, you'd find stuff that's really interesting. You'd find stuff that you connect with because you care about this, but you would never go through hashtag summer. You'll get some likes from spammers by doing that, but you're not doing anything to move the needle long term.
So it's interesting you say that because I'm a marketer, I work in marketing, I have about 14,000 followers on Instagram, which is not huge.
Well, that's good.
But I only get about 200 to 300 likes per photo, and what you're saying is even if your community is small, make the focus on posting cool, relevant content consistently. Don't focus so much on the hashtags to go ahead and get engagement. Really focus on if you have a small, let's say, less than 500 followers, and you get 100 likes, at least those are quality likes within that community.
Totally, yeah. If you're adding value to people, the truth is that they're gonna tell people about what you're doing. The #1 way that people find out about my Instagram is somebody literally telling their friend, hey, you should follow Branden on Instagram, and then them doing it one-on-one, one person at a time. If somebody feels like you're always putting in hashtags and trying to market to get people outside of your community in, they're never gonna feel like they're in the community. They're never gonna feel like they're good at it. They're always gonna feel like, oh, I'm a second-class citizen, because Branden's trying real hard to get other people in.
Let's go ahead and talk about Snapchat. So you are a really well-known Snapchat creator. You've worked with some really cool brands out there. How are you balancing Snapchat stories and Instagram stories?
Man, so I love Instagram and Snapchat. In my mind, they're totally separate, and also my audiences are totally separate. So Snapchat, I still, and this is the tendency for the app in general, but my audience is way younger on Snapchat. My audience on Snapchat is probably 12 to 20. And I love that community. They're so fun. I feel like we can have a really fun time, create really dynamic, engaging content that's crazy, and people engage with it. But when I share that same type of stuff on Instagram, it doesn't resonate in the same way. So on Instagram, my content's a little bit more polished. It's a little bit more short form. and but it's still personal. It's still drawing people into my life. But I see them as totally separate. I'm not a fan of recycling the content across them.
Wholeheartedly agree.
I say, create something that adds value to whatever your audience is. And for some people, they have the exact same audience on Instagram and Snapchat. That's a trickier decision. You can create content for both things. But for me, I know that if I were to steal from one and put it on the other, it doesn't add value to the second party.
I was just saying it today in my session here at Social Media Marketing World, where you have a lot of folks out there that are marketers and they work for brands, or they keep getting caught up in this debate. Should I be on Instagram or should I be on Snapchat? My answer is you should be on both. Totally. Because to your point, you're going to be able to reach different audiences. There's different pockets of users on one platform versus the other. At the end of the day, these are tools that give you reach.
Yeah.
And as long as you're creating content that's unique for each one of those platforms, you're going to be reaching different audiences. Before we wrap up, my man, let's talk about your latest venture. So right now, you are the hottest dude on the planet. You're featured in Elite Daily. Who else featured you recently?
Oh man, I'm running on like 0 hours of sleep right now. So Elite Daily is the first thing that comes to my mind. We've got a few things in the barrel coming out soon. Kickstarter just featured us.
Just featured you.
But it's been a crazy week.
So let's talk about your week. Let's talk about the initiative, your entrepreneurial journey with the Good News.
Yeah. So for the longest time, I've used Instagram and Snapchat and all these platforms to tell stories that matter. I travel the world and I've seen a lot of people who work and live in the most difficult situations. I've been in countries immediately after natural disasters hit. I've been in places where terrorism is happening all the time. I've been to places where people's families and their lives and their communities have been torn apart by war. But this whole time I've seen the hope and resilience that people have. I've seen people doing good things in difficult situations. And I am absolutely convinced that the world is a good place, despite the brokenness, despite the terrible things that happen. And we just don't celebrate the good often enough. And so I've spent my career celebrating the good through social media, and I decided, I was like, I think there's something awesome about holding good news in your hand. I think there's something awesome about being able to hand somebody good news when they need it most. And so I'm creating the Goodnewspaper.
Okay.
And it's a physical quarterly newspaper that celebrates the good in the world and encourages people to become the good of the world, to take action on these issues and causes that they care about in a practical way. We launched on Kickstarter a week and 2 days ago.
Okay.
Within 52 hours, we were already fully funded.
Woo!
We still have a few weeks left in the campaign.
Brush off your shoulder, young man.
I was not expecting it. It has blown me away, but it just shows that people are excited about this idea, and we're super excited about this movement, this community of optimistic, hopeful people from all walks of life, entrepreneurs, creative people, all these people who are excited about this idea.
I love it because, to your point, you hear about all the bad that happens.
Yeah.
And very rarely does anyone out there on more of a traditional media landscape celebrate the good. So a couple questions I have for you.
Yeah.
One being, how will you guys determine what stories to feature? And then two, if someone has a story that they want to be featured for themselves, how would they go about submitting that to you?
Man, fantastic questions. The type of content that we're trying to share is in a lot of ways content that builds empathy. So there's so many things in the world where it feels like it's us versus them, where it feels like it's division more than anything. There's so much division in the world. And what we're trying to do is say, like everywhere I've gone in the world, everywhere I've traveled, I've met people who are very different than me, maybe even people who I disagree with. But when I meet those people, when I have those conversations, I realize that they're just like me. That we connect, like we have families that we care about and love. We just want to provide for ourselves and the people around us. Like we want to live in peace. And there's less than 1% of people who are the bad apples. And so we just want to create that human connection. We're going to celebrate the people who put themselves in harm's way to care for others. We're going to celebrate people who are using their creative and entrepreneurial and marketing talents and all these things to make a difference in the world. And then we're providing really practical tools on how people can join in on those actions and be a part of that if they feel like they want to do something but feel overwhelmed on where to start. One of my favorite things is when people submit good news stories or the inspiring stories of people who are creating good news. And we just launched a Facebook group called Goodnewspaper. It's fantastic. We love it. It's this really cool core group of people who just share good news stories in there all the time. That's a really good way to share stuff. Also at goodgoodgood.co, which is
goodgoodgood.co.
Yeah, that's
the website. Make sure that you guys go to it.
Yeah, we are about to launch a cool new way for people to submit stories. In the meantime, I think there's a contact button on there. Just throw it in there. We're gonna be looking at everything, but one of the things that we're going to be able to do with this Kickstarter is to build a tool to help collect these stories, because they're happening all over the place. They're just often overlooked, and we want them to not be overlooked.
Awesome. So, Branden Harvey, the Goodnewspaper, amazing storyteller on Instagram and Snapchat. Where else can the homies out there find you and connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I would say go check out the Goodnewspaper. Subscribe now while you have the chance on Kickstarter, because it's going to be cheaper there. But no matter when you're watching this, goodnewspaper.co is where you can go to subscribe. I've also got a podcast called Sounds Good with Branden Harvey, where we celebrate the good in the world and we celebrate the lives and stories of inspiring people who are creating the good in the world. And then I'm on the internet everywhere at Branden Harvey, but that's secondary. Go check out the other stuff.
What was the inspiration for your hair?
Oh my gosh, so many things. Ice cream cones, the poop emoji, the baby emoji. Just kidding, I used to have this long curly hair. I'm trying to look around and see if anybody else has some. It was like long surfer hair and tons of curls, like 100 curls, and it was just getting in the way all the time. And I was like, I'm just gonna cut it short, gonna just we'll see what happens. And instead of having 100 little curls, I just ended up with one big curl. It's kind of how it wakes up. Like, I'll show you. This is it messed up.
Oh, this is the exclusive right here.
So this is my hair messed up. This is when I wake up in the morning, and then I just do this. Did it work? Did I do it?
Woo!
Is it cleaned up?
Looks good.
It's not that hard.
Branden Harvey, make sure you guys check him out. We're gonna drop a link right here for the Goodnewspaper. Thank you so much,
Thank you so much, buddy. I really appreciate it.
So good to see you. Make sure if you like this video that you subscribe to my channel, give it a thumbs up. Once again, support Branden Harvey, and I'll see you next time. Peace.